John was a software engineer who rarely believed in myths or superstitions. When his grandfather passed away, John inherited the family's old countryside house. The property was vast, surrounded by dense woods and a haunting silence. The house had one strange rule: never enter the basement after dark. John dismissed it as an old man's eccentricity. He saw the house as an opportunity to escape his busy city life and settle into solitude. The first few weeks went smoothly, with John renovating and settling in. However, every night, faint knocking sounds came from the basement. At first, he thought it was rodents or perhaps the old pipes creaking. One evening, his curiosity got the better of him. Grabbing a flashlight, he descended the narrow staircase leading to the basement. The air grew colder with every step, and the old wooden stairs groaned under his weight. The basement was filled with forgotten furniture, dusty boxes, and cobwebs. At the center stood an old rocking chair, moving ever so slightly. John froze, unsure if it was the wind or his imagination playing tricks on him. As he approached, the chair suddenly stopped. A whisper echoed, "Leave now." Startled, he spun around, but no one was there. John dismissed it as his mind playing tricks and went back upstairs. That night, he dreamt of his grandfather, his face pale and his voice trembling. "You've broken the rule. Leave the house before it's too late," the old man said. When John woke up, the door to the basement was wide open. He was certain he had locked it. On the floor, there were muddy footprints leading from the basement to his bedroom. Terrified, he packed his essentials and left the house, vowing never to return. Years later, he learned from a neighbor that his grandfather had once conducted seances in the basement. The spirits he summoned never left, bound to the house and its cursed foundation. Moral: some boundaries are not meant to be crossed, for they protect us from the unknown. Marie was a dedicated nurse who worked grueling night shifts at a rural hospital. Her drive home often took her through empty, unlit highways surrounded by thick woods. One chilly autumn night, as she was driving home at 3 a.m., she noticed a man limping on the side of the road. His figure was barely visible in the dim light, but he waved desperately at her car. Marie hesitated. She had heard stories about highway criminals pretending to need help. But something about the man's frailty and his tattered clothes made her stop. She rolled down her window slightly and asked, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" The man nodded but said nothing, pointing towards the car's back seat. Reluctantly, Marie unlocked the door, and the man climbed in. The air inside the car grew heavy, and a chilling silence followed. Marie tried to make small talk, asking where he was headed, but he remained silent. When she glanced at the rearview mirror, the man's face looked pale and lifeless. Her unease grew, but she decided to drop him off at the nearest gas station. As they neared the station, she turned to ask if he needed money, but the back seat was empty. Marie slammed on the brakes, her heart racing. She checked the seatbelt, which was still fastened, and the door, which hadn't opened. The man had vanished without a trace. Shaking, she drove home, leaving her car unlocked in the driveway. The next morning, she found a note on the back seat, "Thank you for stopping. I can rest now." Marie later learned from a news report that a man matching his description had died in a hit-and-run accident a week earlier on that same road. Since that night, she avoids driving alone at odd hours, haunted by the memory of her silent passenger. Moral: kindness transcends all boundaries, even those between life and death. Emily and her husband, Mark, moved into a beautiful suburban house with their 2-year-old son, Alex. The house was everything they had dreamed of: spacious, affordable, and located in a quiet neighborhood. However, the previous owners had moved out in a hurry, leaving behind most of their belongings. The neighbors spoke in hushed tones about the house's past but never gave clear answers. Emily shrugged off the gossip, eager to start fresh with her family. Soon after moving in, Emily began to feel like she was being watched. She often heard faint creaks and whispers, especially at night. Alex, too young to understand, started talking to someone he called Sam. At first, Emily thought it was an imaginary friend. But Alex began making strange demands, saying, Sam doesn't like the new curtains. He wants them gone. Emily brushed it off as a phase until one morning, she found the word leave scrawled on the living room wall in crayon. When she confronted Alex, he insisted it wasn't him. Mark, ever the skeptic, dismissed it as childish mischief. But Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister was at play. One night, she woke up to the sound of soft laughter coming from Alex's room. Rushing in, she found him sitting on the floor, staring at a dark corner. Sam says we should all leave before he gets angry, Alex whispered. Desperate for answers, Emily researched the house's history. She discovered that a man named Samuel had lived there decades ago. He was rumored to be a recluse who vanished under mysterious circumstances. The next night, Emily decided to confront whatever was in the house. She shouted into the darkness, "What do you want?" The temperature dropped, and every mirror in the house shattered simultaneously. The family moved out the next day, leaving behind all their belongings. The house was later demolished, but locals still report strange sightings on the empty lot. Moral: the past has a way of lingering, and some places are better left untouched. These stories serve as chilling reminders of life's unpredictability and the thin veil between the natural and supernatural. They beg the question: what would you do if faced with the unknown? Next time you hear a whisper in the dark or feel a presence when you're alone, remember, some stories aren't just stories.